Hi everyone. In this video, let's create one project by using Springboot and MongoDB. Let's start. Let's see what we are going to do in this project. We are going to create one resource called employee and perform Crud operations for that, like creating, reading, updating, and deleting. So let's see the REST endpoints for that. First one, create employee. So this endpoint will create the employee, then get all employees. This will fetch all the employees in our table. Then get employee by ID. So this will fetch the respective employee based on the given ID information. Update employee. This will update the employee information. Delete employee by ID. So this will delete the respective employee. Let's see the tools and technologies needed to create this project. First, to write our code, we need one IDE. So here I'm using STS, that is Spring Tool Shoot. Even you can use Eclipse or IntelliJ, Visual Studio Code, anything you have. Only the project creation will be little bit different. That's it. I recommend you to try this STS. It will be very easy. Okay, then Java 17. I hope you might have already installed the Java. So if you have the lower version, try updating that to Java 17. Then database, since we are using the MongoDB, so we need something to interact with that, right? So for that we are using here MongoDB Compass. Okay. Then client. So to test our API request, once we are completed, we need some application. Okay. For that, here we are using Postman. For build tool, Maven is used. Next, let's see how to download all these applications. How we can download the STS, that is Spring Tool Suite. For that, we need to go to this spring.io/tools link, and here we can find the different downloading links for Visual Studio Code, Eclipse. So from this, we can choose the respective operating system for download. Once it is downloaded, it will be saved in the downloads folder. So it will be like a zip folder. So we need to extract that to get the STS app installed. Next, we can see how we can download the MongoDB Compass. For that, if you search in Google like MongoDB Compass download, you will be getting this link. So you can go here and click on download now. Once we click on download now, it will be redirecting us to this page. Here we can find the link for MongoDB Compass download GUI. So if you come down, here we can set the version, platform, package and click on download. Once it is downloaded, we can install that. Okay, next let's see how we can download the Postman. So for that, if you search in Google as Postman download means, you will be getting this link and it is very straightforward. You can click here as Windows 64-bit, right? If you click this, it will be getting downloaded. So you can install and use that. This is our IDE Spring Tool Shoot, and here we have the different ways to create our project. Since we are going to create the Spring Boot project, so we can click on this create new Spring Starter project. So by using Spring Initializer, how we will be creating, same like that we have the options to create. Okay, we have the service URL. Let's add the name now. So here I'm adding name as Spring Boot Crud example. Okay, and type, let's change this to Maven. So this is build tool, what build tool we want to use. Then Java version, let it be 17. Then a group, like let me change this to com.example.ctps education. Okay, so we can use the same for package also. And remaining thing like artifact version, let it be the same. Okay, so clicking on next. So here we have our Spring Starter dependencies for our project. Let's add our first dependency. So by using this search box, we can search as web. So here we have Spring Web, right? Let's add that. So let's see what it is. It is used for building RESTful web applications. Okay. Searching for the next dependency, Mongo. So here we have Spring Data MongoDB. So what it is means, so it stores data in the flexible JSON like documents. So let's add that too. Then searching for Lombok dependency. So it comes under developer tools. So it helps the developers to reduce the boilerplate code. Okay. Then adding our last dependency, dev tools, that is Spring Boot dev tools. It also comes under developer tools only, and it provides fast application restarts and live reload. That is, even if we do some small changes also, the server will be automatically restarted. So it will be helpful for the developers. So we have added all our dependencies, clicking on next, finish. Okay, the project is getting created. Okay, the project is created now. let's open and check the structure. So here we have source main Java, source main resources, source test Java, and the important file is pom.xml. Let's open and check that. Increasing the font size. And here we can find the information related to our project, like the name of the file, group ID, artifact ID, whatever we have added during the project creation. Also, if you come down, we can see here the Spring Boot starters, whatever we have added. So Spring Boot starter data, MongoDB, Spring Boot starter web, Spring Boot dev tools, Lombok. Also here there is one extra dependency, Spring Boot starter test, that will be used for adding the test cases. Okay, if we want to check inside each status whatever information is there, we can do that by just clicking on this, like control and click that respective starter. So here you can find the version of that Spring Boot starter web, and still inside this also we can do control click. So here it will be opening whatever details related to this starter web starter dependency. So here if you come down, like we can see the Spring Boot starter is there, Spring Boot starter JSON, Spring Boot starter Tomcat. This is the embedded Tomcat which is inbuilt server for this for project. Without adding any server, we can simply run our application. Then one more important file which is under the source main Java. So Spring Boot Crud example application.java. So this class has the main method. So it is like the starting point for our project. Also, it has the annotation at Spring Boot application, which is the combination of at Spring Boot configuration, at enable auto configuration, and at component scan. So it's just used to add the auto configuration features and enabling the like component scan of the project. Okay, and inside main method, the Spring application dot run is used, and the respective class name is passed. Then one more important file which is under source main resources, that is application.properties. So here only we can add all the configurations related to our project. For example, here already spring.application.name is already there, which is the name of our project. Let's create the classes. Before that, first we have to create the package. So clicking on new package. Okay, I'm keeping the base package as same as com.example.ctps education and adding .entity. So first entity package I'm creating. So why it is under this base package means we saw in at Spring Boot application one annotation called at component scan. So this annotation will be scanning only the classes under this base package for bin creation. So that's why we have to add this as base package for all our classes. Okay, similarly we can create the remaining packages. Controller, then service, repository. So first all the packages are created. Now we can create the class. So first controller class. So clicking on new class, employee controller, finish. Okay, likewise we can create the remaining classes. So entity, employee. Okay, then new class, employee, service, finish. Okay, at last we have the repository, but this repository should be an interface. Okay, new interface. Okay, here we can keep the name as employee repository. Okay, before starting our code, now let's just run and check once. Okay, run as so here it's asking for the different ways to run, so I'm running as Spring Boot app. Okay, you can check the console, the logs are getting printed. So in this, at last you can notice started Spring Boot CRUD application, and the Tomcat started on port 8080. So now our application is started successfully. So this is just to ensure there is no issues in the configuration part. Let's create the entity first, that is employee. So here we can have three fields: private string ID, private string name, and finally private int age. Okay, then we have to annotate this class with @document. Adding import for this annotation. Okay, now let's see what is this. So it identifies a domain object to be persisted to MongoDB. In simple words, whatever classes annotated with this @document will be mapped as a document that is collection to the MongoDB. Okay. For example, here we have the employee class, right? So this will be added as a collection in the MongoDB. Then we can create the getters and setters. So here I am using the Lombok annotation itself, @getter, @setter. Importing them. Okay. Also we can simplify this by adding one simple annotation called @data. Okay, let's import that. Okay, to see what is this annotation means, it is the combination of @getter, @setter, @requiredocs, @toString, @equals and hash code. So it is better to add in the document class as @data. And now we can add the remaining annotations: @novax constructor, importing it, @allax constructor. Since these two will not be included in the @data annotation. Now we can make one field as primary key here by adding @id annotation. Importing it. It is used for uniquely identifying each employee. That is, each employee will have unique ID here. Also, the default name of the document, that is table, will be employee. If we want to change that, we can do that by adding inside our document collection equal to, so whatever name we want to keep, we can keep here. For example, here I have kept employees. And if you want to change the field name also, we can do that by adding @field annotation, and inside that we have to provide the respective name whatever we want to keep. For example, here I am keeping emp name, importing @field. Okay, let's remove the changes whatever we have done. So let it be the same name whatever we have kept earlier. Entity is completed now. Let's configure the MongoDB. Okay, for that we have to go to the application.properties. So here we have to add the property related to MongoDB, that is spring.data.mongodb. If you type like this, it will show the available properties. So here we can use URI. Okay, we need to get this information, right? For that, let's go to the MongoDB compass. So this is our MongoDB compass. So we can click on this add new connection. Okay, if you see here, this is the URI, and here we can add the like the DB name. So I'm adding as employee DB. Okay, now we can click on save and connect. Okay, since I've already opened few sessions, let me remove them. Okay, remove. Okay, now this is our connection, and here we have admin config local. These are the default databases. Okay, to get the connection info, we can click on this three dot and you can see the options here. So we need to copy connection string. Okay, let's paste that in our property file. Now let's complete the employee repository. It is an interface, and since we are going to work on the Crud operations, we need to extend this with Mongo repository. And this Mongo repository requires two parameters. First one, name of the document, and next primary key, that is type of primary key whatever we have. Here we have string. Let's import Mongo repository and employee. Let's see what is this Mongo repository. Control clicking on it. So here we can see it is a no repository bean, and it extends list CRUD repository and some other repositories also. So it has the methods for the CRUD operations like saving, find all, like those methods we can see here, right? So that's why we are able to do the CRUD operation just by extending this Mongo repository. Now let's complete the employee controller class. First we need to annotate this class with @REST_controller. Importing it. This REST controller is the combination of two annotations, that is @controller and @response_body. Let's see both of them now. First @controller. So I am just importing it so that we can see more in detail about that. Okay. Controller annotation is used to make the class as a controller class. First, that is the point, and it is a specialization of @component. So whatever classes annotated with @component, those classes only will be available for bean creation, right? And those classes only will get scanned. Then @response_body annotation, importing it. This annotation indicates a method return value should be bound to the web response body. That is, normally if we return any response means it will be like a view file, that is some HTML file. But by adding this @response body annotation, we can even return a HTTP response. I'm removing this now and Ctrl+Shift+O to remove the extra imports. Let's create one method now. Public string create employee. Okay, here I'm just returning one string value. Return success. It is just for testing only. Like, let's see how it works. Okay, and okay, before running we should be calling this one, right? So we need one URL. So for that we can use one annotation @request_mapping. Importing it. So this annotation is used for mapping web request onto the methods in request handling classes. So it is simple, like we can provide the URL here, and by using this URL we can call this methods. Okay, I'm adding this as employee. Okay, running it now. Okay, Tomcat started and application is started now. Okay, I'm going here and hitting on this localhost :8080. 8080 is here the default port of Tomcat. Okay, /employee is taken from the our request mapping URL. Okay, I'm just running it now. If you see, I'm getting some 404 not found error, and it is telling no static resource employee. We just added @request mapping in the class level, but we didn't tell like method level what it should be. Like we should add some annotations in the method level also. So let's add here @get mapping. Import get mapping. So we'll be seeing more in detail about this annotations. So consider here it is just a get request. Okay, I've added now. Now let's refresh and check. Yeah, we got the response. Okay, now let's start creating our actual endpoints. First one, create employee. So for this, instead of string, it should return employee. Importing it, and we should pass parameter also, employee. Let's return null for now. Okay, first we can create all the methods. Copy pasting everything. Okay, first create, then get employee. Get all employees we can do first, and then we can get one employee, and this should be a list of employee. Okay, I'm changing this. Okay, importing list, and we don't need to pass anything here. Okay, I'm removing that. Okay, then get one employee. So get employee by ID we can tell. Okay, and return type, let it be employee, but here we want to pass one id, that is string id. Okay, next let's update employee. Okay, here everything is same. Okay, then should be delete employee, and it should be like by id, right? So here we can pass string id. Okay, now we are ready with the methods. Let's add the request mapping annotations here. For create employee, it should be a post request, so we should use at post mapping, importing it. This at post mapping annotation is used for HTTP post request, and also note it is a shortcut for at request mapping method equal to request method dot post. Okay, we can provide the link here. So here I'm just adding like slash create. Okay, similarly we can add for get all employees. So instead of post, since it is a get request, so we can add get mapping here, and okay, we can change the URL. Let's change the URL to fetch. Since we are going to fetch all the employees, so we can add like all slash all. This get mapping annotation is used for mapping the HTTP get request, and it is the shortcut for at request mapping method equal to request method dot get. Next, get employee by id. For this also it is a get mapping request, and here we can slash add it like slash fetch slash id should be, but here we need to pass it within brackets since this id will be changing. So for example, if you want to fetch the employee id 1, so we can pass it like a fetch slash 1 like that. So that's a dynamic value, we are adding it in a bracket. Okay, then next to update employee, so this should be put mapping, importing it. Okay, and changing this URL to update, and this put mapping is used for HTTP put request, and it is like a shortcut for request method dot put. Okay, delete mapping, importing it, changing the link to slash delete. So we have created all the endpoints for create, read, update and delete. Now let's start completing the methods. Okay, before that let's import employee service. Okay, and we need to add one annotation called at auto wired. It is used for dependency injection, that is here this employee controller class is dependent on employee service class, so we will be calling the methods of employee service class. We can even directly call the repository layer, but why we have added here service layer means it is used for adding the business logic, that is the best practice. Instead of calling here directly the repository layer from the controller, we should be using one service layer to handle all the business logics. Now let's add it in this at post mapping, employee service dot create employee, and inside this we have to pass employee. So let's add like create method, since that method will not be there in the employee service. Okay, we have created this method. Oh, before that we need to add here one annotation at request body. Okay, importing it. Since we are going to pass the employee object in the request body, we need to add this annotation. Okay. Next, get mapping. So here we need to return employee service dot get employee, get all employees. Okay, and we need to create this method. Just keep here create method. Okay, this will be creating as method in the service class. Okay, we are done. Why it is showing error? Just we need to save here. Okay, let's go to the next method, get employee by id. So here in the URL we have id as a path variable, so we need to add one annotation at path variable, since this value will be dynamically changing. Since this path variable is a part of URL, if we miss this variable, it will be throwing us error. So this URL itself, it won't be working. Now, And inside this path variable we can provide the name for this. I'm keeping as id. Sometimes it will be working. For me it was not working if I didn't pass like this. Okay, so I'm passing this employee service dot get employee by id. Okay, and inside this we need to pass this id. Okay, create method. So in service class our new method is created. Then update employee. Okay, here also we need to provide at request body annotation. Okay, return employee service dot update employee. But here we can, instead of update employee, we can use the same create employee itself. Since in the Mongo Crud repository, we can use the same method for saving and updating. So that's why we are using the same method here. Then delete employee. So here also we need to pass at path variable. Okay, and return employee service dot delete employee. Inside this we need to pass id. Create method. And one more thing, since the delete employee will not be returning as anything, we can change the return type to void here. Okay, changing it, and here also we can update this to void. This won't be returning us anything. I'm just removing this. Okay, now we have completed the controller. Now let's complete the employee service. Okay, first we need to annotate this class with at service annotation. So keep it like a habit. Whenever you create a class, either you need to annotate this class with the at component annotation or the special annotation for that. So this service annotation is nothing but like a specialization for the at component annotation only. Now even we can change this to at component annotation, that also will work, but it's better to add it as a at service only, since it is a service layer that provides us more readability, right? Add the dependencies. So here employee service is dependent on employee repository methods, so we need to add that here. Okay, importing employee repository import. And to achieve dependency injection we need to annotate this class with at auto wired annotation. Import. Okay, now we can start changing the methods. First one, create employee. This one should save the employee data whatever passed to the table, right? So for that we need to use employee repository dot save method. So we have the different methods you can see here, right? So we have to call here the save method. Inside this we have to pass the employee. Okay, so whatever we are getting from the request, so it will be passed and it will get saved to the DB. Let's test this one so that we can add some employees to the DB. Running it. Okay, application is started now. Okay. So we can test this post request through Postman. Previously we were testing it through a browser, right? First get request. Since that was a get request, we can do that by using browser. But here, since it's a post request and we need to pass something in the body, right? So that is not possible with the browser. Now this is the endpoint. So if you see here, http://localhost 8080, and after that our request mapping URL, and then the whatever respective method link, that is create. Okay, let's again see this URL. Okay, how we got this URL. So here inside at request mapping we pass at /employee, and inside at post mapping we have /create. Remember we have to change this method to post. I think by default it will be get. Okay, now we need to pass the employee object, that is ID, name, age fields here. So for that we need to go to this body tab, select here as raw, and the type should be JSON here, so that we can pass it as a JSON request. Okay, I'm sending it. So it is 200. Okay, and we got the response back. Okay, now let's check in the DB. We have already created the DB, but still it didn't show here, right? Why means we didn't create any table. In MongoDB Compass, it will be showing only if the DB has some table, at least one table should be there. Then we want to create the table only through our API request. Okay, now to see the reflection, like we can check like refresh database. So here if you see, we got our DB created, and if you click here, so we can see the employee table is there. Okay, and one record is inserted with ID, name and age. Okay. Now let's insert some more records to (23). Okay, sending in 4. Should change the ID to 4. Age something 28. Okay. Sending it. Okay, as 200. Okay, so now let's refresh and check. Yeah, we got all the data created here. Now let's complete the remaining methods. Next, get all employees. So here also we should return employee repository dot, we have here find all method, and it is returning us the list of employees. Okay, that's it. Next method, get employee by ID. So here also we can use employee repository dot. So here we need to find only one employee. So for that, find by ID, we have one method like that. So inside this we have to pass ID, but this find by ID will be returning only optional of employee. So that means like if the ID is not there, what will happen next? So that's why we have to pass it like dot or else. So here we can simply pass null. Okay, that's it. It's not a good practice to write like this, but still we can refactor this one. Okay. Then delete employee. Here we need to call employee repository dot delete by ID. We have one method here. Okay, so inside this we have to pass this ID. Okay, that's it. We have completed all the endpoints now. Okay, let's test it by running the application. Okay, our application started now. Let's go to Postman and verify the endpoints. Post is already completed. So let's test from get APIs. So this is the endpoint. Let's verify that with the controller, employee controller. Yeah, here the second endpoint /fetch/all. So here we have the endpoint correct, and the method type should be get here. Clicking on send. So here we got the data. Let's verify that with our DB. Okay, let's go to MongoDB Compass. So here we have 1, 2, 3, 4 IDs. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4 here too. Okay, all the employees are fetched. So you didn't add the method request properly. Like for example, if we add here as put means it won't be working. It will throw us 405 method not allowed error. So it should be proper method type, and also the URL should be correct. Just cross verify if you face any issues in these endpoints. Okay, then let's test the get employee by ID. Okay, can verify the endpoint /fetch/ID. So since it is a dynamic ID, like we can pass here either 1, 2, 3 or 4 from the DB. Okay, I am passing ID as 1, sending it. Here we got the employee ID record for 1. Let's pass 3 here, sending it. Yeah, here we got the employee with ID 3. Okay, let's test the update endpoint. So here the method type should be put, and the endpoint is /update /employee/update. We need to pass the employee object in the request body. So let's do the update for ID 2. So Name we can update. So before that, let's check in DB. So here we have name as Siva and age 30. Let's update the name and age. So here name I'm updating to Siva Balan and age 28. Okay, sending. Yeah, we got the responses updated one. Let's check in DB also. Refresh. Yeah, we got the updated name and age. Okay, if you observe, based on ID, it is getting updated. So let's verify in code too. Let's go to put mapping. So here we just use the same create employee, and this create employee is calling employee repository dot save method. So this save method can be used for both creating and updating based on ID. Only thing to notice here, we have to use put mapping for update request, whereas post mapping for create request. Since put mapping will be updating each request, it won't be creating new records, whereas post will be creating a new record each time when we hit. That's the difference. Okay, now let's go to the delete API. Yeah, here we have the delete method, and the endpoint is slash delete 1. So ID here I'm passing 1. Okay, sending it. Here I'm getting 404 not found. Let's verify what is the issue. Let's check in DB first if we have this record for 1 or not. Yeah, let's refresh again. Yeah, we have the record, but still it is throwing us 404 not found. I think there is some issue with the URL. Yeah, here we missed adding the path variable. Okay, let's add that. Okay, since it is added as a path variable in the parameter, but we didn't pass that in the URI. That's why it was throwing like no static resource employee, because it is a path variable, right? It will be like mandatory for that. So that's why it was throwing us error. Okay, now let's rerun this. Okay, checking it. Send. Yeah, now we got 200. Okay, let's verify that in DB. Here we have all the records. Refreshing it. Yeah, we got now 2, 3, 4 records only. We can add one annotation here as at response status. Okay, here we can add the http status dot. It shows us the available http status code. So here we can use created. Okay, this http response status will be returning us the respective http response code. Like for example, here we have like for post, like we are getting 200 OK, right? We can change this 200 OK to whatever we want to send. Okay, for example, here I have added http status that created, right? So let's check now. I'm running it. Sending it. Okay, now if you see, the response code got changed to 201 created. Previously it was 200 OK, now it got changed to 201 created. Okay, similarly we can update for all the endpoints. For get mapping, I think it is better to keep 200 OK itself. Let's update for put mapping and delete mapping. Okay, for delete mapping, let it be status not found. Okay, I'm typing http status dot not found. Let's add that. Okay, similarly for update, let's change this to accepted. Okay, yeah, now we have completed everything. Okay, server got restarted. Since get APIs we don't need to test, it was 200 OK only. Okay, for output we let's test for update API. So here I'm updating the age to 31. Okay, sending it. And now we got the responses 202 accepted. Okay, then delete API. Let's send this one. So I'm deleting the first record again since it got created just now. Okay, I'm sending it. Yeah, now our response is 404 not found. And we can update one more thing. for this get API, like fetching one employee, right, by ID. So if we pass something which is not there means send, it is throwing us 200, okay, null. But instead we can throw some exception like ID not found, something like that. Let's create one custom class for exception. You can keep some name like employee not found exception. Instead of keeping this under the base package, we can change this to new package. Okay, let's create one new package, dot exception. Okay, now we can move this exception to this newly created package. First step is to extend this class with exception or runtime exception. Okay, let's extend runtime exception. Okay, and we need to create a constructor, public employee not found exception. Inside this, let's pass one message. Okay, that is string value, and here we have to call the super constructor, super of, we can pass this message. What is this? And let's add one default serial version ID. Yeah, let's add here the response status for this exception, so that if any API is going to throw this exception, it will be throwing this response status only. Okay, HTTP status dot, here we can throw not found. Okay, now let's go to our service class and get employee by ID method. So here if the ID is not there, we are just setting it as null. Instead of that, we can throw dot or else throw. Here we can pass our custom exception. Okay, new employee not found exception, and inside this we have to provide some message, just importing it. Let's pass some message as ID not found. That's it. Okay, let's run this now. Now let's test our endpoint. Here the ID is passed as 6, which is not there in DB, sending it. Now we got 404 not found, and the method and message is ID not found. Okay viewers, now we have completed all the REST endpoints and tested them. I hope you have also tried this. If you're having any questions, please ask in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, please subscribe and support. Thank you.